It is constant. Okay, is it constant? Is it constant? No, it keeps changing. It keeps changing. Now tell me, whenever it is keeps changing, the URL, username, password, is it a good practice for you to go and keep changing the data in the UI? Is it a good practice for you to go and keep changing the data in UI? It's a good habit? No, it's not a good habit to keep changing. Okay, so this is a first drawback. Okay, so here the datas are not constant. Here the datas are not constant. The data keeps changing. So whenever data keeps changing, what we have to do? So whenever the data keeps changing, what we have to do? So you should not go and change the data. You should not go change the data. Are you understanding? Because data keeps changing. Data keeps changing. Once whenever the data keeps changes, you should not keep changing it. Yes or no? Okay. You should not change the data. That's the first thing. Second thing, look at my screen. Let's assume only two automation engineers are there in your company. Let's assume okay, only that two automation engineers are there in the company. And these two automation engineers, okay, there are how many other? There are only two automation engineers are there. Now let's assume both of them are taken leave. Let's assume both of them are taken leave. Okay, so when two automation engineer taken leave, now suddenly customer wants to change the data. What customer wants to do? Now suddenly the customer wants to change the data. You want to change the data. Now tell me, is it possible? Is it possible? Okay, to ask a manual test engineer to go and change the data in the program? Can I ask a manual test engineer to go change the data in the program? An Excel sheet? No, it is not possible. That is not possible. Correct? It's not possible, isn't it? Is it possible? No, it is not possible. Because why? Why it is not possible? Why it is not possible? Okay, so whenever he cannot go change, he cannot go change the data. He cannot go change the data. Are you understanding? So what happens if I ask him to go change the data? He may erase the program or he may change something else, isn't it? Correct, right? He may change something else. Yes or no? Hmm. No. So you should never hard code the data at all in the program. You should always read the data from the external resources. You should always read the data from where? External resources. Got it? Okay. You should always read the data from where? External resources. Understood? You should never hard code the data. You should always read the data from where? External resources. Clear? Now, let's understand. Make heading, start writing. Make heading, data driven testing. Start writing. Start writing the theory. We will do it. It's very easy. Let me tell you something. Chapter 3 is one of the easiest chapter. Chapter 3 is one of the easiest chapter and it is important. Easy and also important. Why? Data driven Why data driven testing? As per the rule of the automation, data should not be hard coded because data modification and maintenance is tedious job. Instead, we should get the data from the external resources like property file and Excel sheet. Okay, next. Why? Why over no? What is data driven testing? You have to write the full form. Okay, now look here. Reading. Wait, don't write it. Just listen here. Reading the data from external resources and run the test is called as data driven testing. What are what is advantages of what are the advantages of data driven testing? What are the advantages of data driven testing? Maintenance of the test data is easy. Modification 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 of the test data in external resources is easy. Running test scripts in different credentials is easy. Okay. And you can also tell. We cannot will to start doing practically. We can. Finished, isn't it? If when you written the code, okay, get URL driver dot find element by dot id dot send keys admin again driver dot find element by dot send keys manager. This URL, username, password. Okay, you should never keep add code the data because it keeps changing. Okay, so maintenance here is maintaining this data, whatever I've written, is a difficult job because it keeps modifying, and you're also maintaining this data is a difficult job. Maintenance of this data is also a difficult job. Understanding? So what is the meaning of word called TDS means? TDS means it's a continuous process. Continuous. You continuously keep changing, you're also going and changing the data. Are you understanding? TDS means what? Continuous. Continuous. Because until unless you go and okay, it goes to the production server. Until unless your application goes to production server, there will be lot of changes. So in that time you cannot go in every program. Where is it? I don't know. I'm just giving an example for login page. What about complete application data keep changing? Will you go and keep changing the data? Will you go keep changing the data? No, it is not possible. It is not possible. Correct, right? So it's a tedious job. Means changing the data is tedious job. In order to overcome this, we go with a concept called data driven. Okay, make reading. Reading the data, reading the data, reading the data from reading the data from property, reading the data from where? What is what is property file? What is property file? Okay, it is a file. It's a file where you can store the. It's a file where you can store the data. Okay, what is property file? It's a file where you can store the data in the form of key and value pair. If you call key, you will get value. It's a file where you can store the data in the form of key value pair. If you call key, you'll get a value. Okay. Next, steps to create a property file. Steps to create property file. Copy down this. Make a note of the steps. Right click on the project. 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 New file. Right click on the project. 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 New file. Right click on the project. New file. Right click on the project. Right click on the project. New file. Okay. Name it as what? Data dot properties. Name it as data dot properties. Click on finish. Name it as data dot properties and click on finish. Name it as data dot properties. Click on finish. Okay. So let's store the data. Here, let's store the data. URL, username, admin, password, Okay, URL, username and password. URL, username and password. Okay, now look at my screen, everyone. So URL is there, username is there, password is there. Okay, so most of you guys, what you guys does the mistake, I'll tell you. We have an habit. It's not a mistake. We become an habit using semicolon, using double quotes. Please don't do that. Open both of your eyes. Look at the property file. How do you store the data? No double quotes, no semicolon, no single quotes, nothing. Key and value pair. Whatever is there in the black color, that is called as key. Whatever is there in the blue color, that is called as a value. So if you call the key, you'll get the values. Understanding? Everybody understood how the file should be? Please copy this down. Copy that down. Create a file, store the data. Create a file, store the data, everyone. Create a file and store the data. Create a file and store the data quickly. And two eyes cross check whether your file is same. No semicolons, no double quotes, nothing. Cross verify. Done. Okay. Now let's start writing the code. Let's start writing the code. Understand, it is simple. Nothing is there. Only three lines of the code, but understand neatly. Now look here. Let me create a class. Let me create a class. Test 0. Select the main method. Click on finish. Step number one. Step number one. Web driver is equals to new Chrome driver of. Let me import. Next. Driver dot manage dot window dot maximize. Driver dot get. Now tell me, guys. Prior to this, let me write the coding. Step number one. Prior to this, okay. Step number one. First, we have to create an object for the class called properties. Step number one. Create a create an object for properties class. Create an object for properties class. Step number one. Step number one, you need to create a object for properties class. Are you understanding? What is the step number one? Step number one, we need to create an object for properties class, and you have to import this properties class from java.utils package, and you have to import it from where? Java.utils package. So what is the step number one? Step number one, we need to create an object for the class called properties. Clear? Clear? Okay, everybody understood the step number 1? First, we have to create an object for properties class, and that should be imported from where? Java.utils package. Step number 2. Step number 2. You need to create an object for file input stream. You need to create an object for file input stream. You need to create an object for where? File input stream. Okay, and here you need to write the file name. File input stream, you need to write the file name, that is dot slash data dot properties, dot slash data dot properties. So what we have to do, we have to create an object for what? File input stream, and here you should specify the path of the property file. You need to specify what? You need to specify the path of the property file. That is where, instead of writing Selenium Automation 1, instead of writing Selenium Automation 1, the shortcut is what? Dot. The shortcut is what? Dot slash data dot properties. Data dot properties. Understood? So what's the step number 1? We need to create an object for properties class. Step number 2, you need to create a file input stream, and you need to specify the path of your property file. Clear? Clear? Everybody's clear? Next, p dot load. Okay, I need to load this property file. What I need to do? I need to load this. I need to load this property file. I need to load this property file. So next, after loading, okay, so means I need to tell Selenium. I need to tell Selenium, go take the data from this file. So I need to load it. Everyone understood this three lines of the code. Step number 1, create an object for properties class, import from java.utils package, create an object for file input stream, specify the path of your property file, and load this property file and pass that reference. That's all is the coding. That's all. Reference variable. Are you sleeping, Bharti? It's a reference variable. Okay, when you create an object, it's a reference variable. Okay, everyone understood? That's all. Now call the method p dot get property. Okay, so what you need to do, you need to call p dot get property. Okay, and you should go and pass the key. What's the key here? URL. URL, username, password are the key, and that values. So here what I need to do, p dot get property, I need to just pass the value. This will throw you an exception, throw the exception, and this will also throw an exception, throw an exception. Understood? Everyone understood? Clear? Clear? Now look at my screen. Look at my screen. Now let me right click. Let me click on inspect. You tell me the code, okay? This is by using what locator? ID locator is there. Tell me the code. Driver dot manage dot times out dot implicitly wait duration of seconds. Driver dot find element by using id locator. Copy paste the value. Copy paste the value. Now dot send keys. Tell me, how do you read the data? Please tell me, everyone, how do you read the data? Tell me, guys, how do you read the data? P dot get property. P dot get property. That is what? Username. That is what? Username. Next. Let me right click. Let me click on inspect. Tell me the code. Driver dot find element by using name locator Copy paste the value. Dot send keys. P dot get property. So what's the name of that file? Password. Everybody is clear? Everybody understood? Everybody is clear? Everybody understood? Now let me run the code. That's all. Only 3 lines of the code it is. Now if you see, it opens the browser. Is it taking the data from the property file? Is it taking the data from the property file? Is it entering username and password? Is it entering username and password? Yes. Okay. Please make a note of the code. Execute. Execute. Do it for some Facebook application. Store the details of Facebook application and read it quickly. I'll give you only 5 minutes of time. Done? Everybody understood? Done? Everybody understood? Okay, super. Is it easy? Is it easy? Similarly, 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 reading the data from Excel sheet. Okay, now tell me, guys. This is your Selenium. Selenium is what type of application? It's a web-based application. Excel is what type of application? Excel is what type of application? It is a standalone application. Okay, so Selenium is web-based application, Excel is standalone application. Now, what I need to do? I need to read the data. Is it possible? Is it possible? No, it is not possible. So we are going to make use of the third-party tool called Apache Point. So we are going to make use of what? The third-party tool called what? Apache Point. So what we are doing? So we are making use of a third-party tool called Apache Point. Steps to add Apache Point to the project. Okay, please make a note. Look at my screen. Now, step number one. Everyone right click on your project. Everybody right click on your project. Right click on your project. New, create one folder. Right click on the project. New, right click on the project. New, create one folder. Create one folder. Name it as POI. Name it as POI and click on finish. Okay. Create one folder with the name POI. Everyone create a folder with the name POI. Everybody create one folder with a name called POI. Everyone create a folder with the name POI. Created. 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 Now,
Ma'am, it is created in an automation Selenium project.
yes, on top of your project, right click, and create one folder. And give me a minute. 1 minute. Let me push this. Let me push this. Let me push this. Give me 1 minute of time. I'll tell you what to do next. Hmm. Open the GitHub link, everyone. Open the GitHub link, everyone. Go to the GitHub link page. Go to the GitHub link page. Everybody open GitHub link page. Everybody open GitHub link page. Everybody opened? Opened? Done? Okay. Now. Don't ask me link, please. It is given on the day one. Okay. Now look at my screen. Are you able to see this POI folder? Are you able to see this POI folder, everyone? Are you able to see this POI folder, everyone? Click on this POI folder. Click on this POI folder. Click on this POI folder. So there are 20 jars. There are 20 jars. Download it. There are 20 jars. Download it and copy paste it inside this POI folder. Understood? Copy paste it inside this POI folder. Got it? There are 20 jar files. Copy paste that. Download it. Copy and paste it to the POI folder. I'll give you 5 minutes of time. Download, copy paste it to the POI folder. Quickly. Copy
Ma'am,
paste it to the POI folder. Everyone. Copy paste it. How to download? Click on this. Click on everything. Click on everything. And click on here. There's an option called download. There's an option called as download. Click download. Click on this and download. See, when you download, this file got downloaded. Download. It's 19. Okay, download 19 then. All the jar files you need to download. Download it. Okay. Umesh, download all the files. Go to your GitHub link. Okay. Go to GitHub link. Click on POI folder. POI folder. Then click on one jar. All 19 jars. Copy paste it to the POI folder. Copy paste it to the POI folder. I'll repeat again. Shruti, listen. First, right click on the project, create POI folder. Right click on the project, new, create one folder. Name it as POI. Open your GitHub link. Open your GitHub link. Okay. So, and download all the jar files and add it to the POI folder. Quickly, everybody add. There are 19 jar files. Add it. There are 19 jar files. Add it. Start adding. There are 19 jar files. Add it. Done? Done?
Hello? Hello?
Done? Look at my screen. Look at my screen. Make edit. Steps to add. Steps to add Excel sheet to the project. 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 Step number 1. Open Excel sheet. Open Excel sheet. Open Excel sheet. Store the data. Store the data. Open Excel sheet, store the data. Okay, store anything, store the data, store the data. Uh, Okay, everybody open the Excel sheet and store the data. Open the Excel sheet and store the data. Open the Excel sheet and store the data. File, save. Okay, save it on the desktop. Don't worry, I'll post it in the WhatsApp group if you're not able to copy paste it. And I have a big question, guys. You don't know how to use GitHub link, then how are you accessing notes and programs on daily basis? Huh? You don't know how to access means how are you accessing? Anyways, I'll put it in the WhatsApp group. This thing, then you can add it, copy paste it. Okay. Now look at my screen. Let me store it in the desktop. 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 Okay. Make a note. Make a note. Store the file. Make a note, everyone. Store the file. Copy and paste it. Make a note. Don't me asking again. This jar files I'll post it in the GitHub link. You can this jar files I'll post it in the WhatsApp group. You can copy paste it. Okay, this jar file I will add it to the this one. You can copy paste it. Okay, now copy that Excel sheet. Copy that Excel sheet. Paste it on Selenium automation. Copy that Excel sheet and paste it on what? Selenium automation. Everybody understood till here? Everybody understood till here? I'll give you that jar files. I'll give you the jar files. Don't worry. I'll give you that jar files. I'll send it in WhatsApp group. Okay. Now look at my screen. How do we read the data? Write the program first. Understand the program. So this is your Excel sheet. This is your nothing to repeat. I'll give you the jar file. Copy all the jar file. Paste it in your folder. Okay, that much you do. Now look here. This is your Excel sheet. This is your Excel sheet. Now here the data are there. Here the data are there. So what we call all this as rows. We call all this as columns. And this we call it as get string cell value. 0, 0, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. So this is called as what? Row, column, and sheet. And this is your sheet. Okay. So this is called as what? Excel sheet. Are you understanding? Okay. So this is called rows and column. Now, if you look into our Excel sheet, we have stored the data in this fashion. Correct? URL, username, password. So in order to read the URL, I have to use 1 comma 0. In order to use the password, we have to read 1 comma 1. In order to read the password, we use 1 comma 2. Understood? Understood, everyone? Everybody understood? How do you read the data? 1 comma 0, 1 comma 1, 1 comma 2. Clear? Clear, everyone? Super. Now let's start reading the data. Let's start reading the data. Now, make a note, everyone. Make a note. Make a note, everyone. Make a note, everyone. Steps to add Apache Poi to the project. 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 Right click on the project, new, create a folder. Right click on the project, new, create a folder. Name the folder as POI and click on finish. Name the folder as POI and click on finish. This jar files will be given to you on WhatsApp. This jar files will be given to you on WhatsApp. You can ask me, why? Show us how do you download. Okay, that you'll understand when I'm teaching you chapter 4. You'll understand when I'm teaching you chapter 4. Okay, so download all the jar files from the WhatsApp, paste it to the POI folder. Download all the jar file from the WhatsApp and paste it to the POI folder. Paste it to the POI folder. Clear, Delia? Clear, Delia? Everybody's clear. Okay. Now, add all the jar files to the build path. Add all the jar files to the build path. Right click. Add all the jar files to the build path. Right click, build path, add to build path. Add all the jar files to the build path. Add all the jar files to the build path. Add all the jar files to the build path. Add all the jar files to the build path. Add all the jar files to the build path. Okay, now open the Excel sheet. Next step, open the Excel sheet, store the data. Open the Excel sheet, store the data, and copy paste that Excel sheet on the project. Copy and paste that Excel sheet on the project. Copy and paste the Excel sheet on the project. Copy paste the Excel sheet on the project. Copy paste the Excel sheet on the project. Copy paste the Excel sheet on the project. Clear? Everybody is clear? Everybody is clear? And that's all. Okay, now look at the program. I'll share it in WhatsApp group, copy paste it. Okay, so I'll share that and copy paste it. Now look at my this one program. You look at my program. You do it and come tomorrow. Okay, now test number 1. Select a main method, click on finish. Step number 1. Step number 1. First, you need to create an object for the class called file input stream. First, you need to create an object for the class called file input stream, and you need to specify the Excel sheet path. And you need to specify the Excel sheet path, that is under the current project you have with a name called Excel data dot Excel xx. Okay, so step number 1, we need to create an object for file input stream, and you need to create an object for file input stream and need to store that. You need to store that. Understood? Everybody's clear? Step number is clear? Next, step number 2. We have a class called workbook factory. We have a class called workbook factory dot create means, see, we have lot of Excel sheet, correct, right? So we are creating our own Excel sheet and we are telling Selenium, read the data from that Excel sheet. Okay, so we have lot of Excel sheet. So we are telling Selenium, read the data from that particular Excel sheet. Read the data from that particular Excel sheet. Okay, now the return type is workbook. The return type is workbook. Okay, now wb dot get sheet. wb dot get sheet. So when you create an Excel sheet, the sheet number was 1. Okay, look at here. Whenever you create an Excel sheet, what is the sheet number? What is the sheet number here? Look at here. It's a sheet number 1. Look at this. It's a sheet number 1. So specify the sheet number 1. Okay. Next, get row. Now, if I want to read the URL, what is the row number, guys? If I want to read the URL, what's the row number? 1. Okay. If you want to read it, the row comma will be 1. Dot. Cell. Okay. Here we don't have a concept called column. Instead of column, we call it a cell. And get string cell value. And get string cell value. Get string cell value. Are you understanding? And you have to tell it as get string cell value. Okay. Now store it inside one variable. Store it inside one variable. The return type of this is string. Return type of this is string. Understanding? Next, wb dot get sheet. So here we have sheet number 1. Get row. Row number 1. Get cell. Row number. What's a row number? What's a cell number? 1 comma 1. And get string cell value. Get string cell value. Next, username. User, the return type of this is string. The user, the return type is string. wb dot get sheet. Sheet number 1. Get row. Okay, now look at this row number and cell number 1 comma 2. 1 comma 2. Row number is 1. Cell number is 2. And get string cell value. Let me store it inside one variable. The return type of this is string. Clear? Clear? Okay, now let's start writing the code. Web driver. I'll just copy and paste this. That's all is a code. That's all is a code. Everybody's clear? Everybody's clear? That's all is the code here. Code is that's all. Now look at my screen here. Step number one, I opened the browser. I maximized. I need to enter the URL. Okay, I need to enter the URL. So what I need to pass? I need to pass this variable. What's the variable here? URL. I need to pass the URL over here. Are you understanding? I need to write. So this is the implicitly wait. Next, I need to write what? User. And the keys, I need to pass the variable as user. Next, I need to pass the variable as password. I need to pass the variable as password. Are you understanding? Are you understanding? Now let me run the program. It opens the browser, maximizes, enters the URL, and it enters the username and password. Clear? Clear everyone reading the data from the Excel sheet? Now, I'll share you these files. I'll share you these jars. Okay? Download it, copy, paste it to the POI folder, and you have to add it to the build path also. Add it to the build path, add the Excel sheet, and read it. Can you do it? Add the Excel sheet and do it. Can you do it? Super. Now look at this thing. I'll immediately do that. Okay? And notes and programs is pushed to GitHub, and don't tell me it is you're not able to access. 100% you are able to access it. Notes and code is pushed to GitHub. Please access it. And this also I'll push it to this. Code and notes are pushed. Code and notes has been pushed. Code and notes has been pushed. Okay, now let me post it in the WhatsApp group. Download it. Let me put it in the WhatsApp group. Download it, everyone. Download it and do it. Okay. Chandan, that's the reason it's given in WhatsApp. That's the reason I'm giving it in WhatsApp. Understanding, Chandan? Is the program is clear? Is the program is clear? Okay, wait. 1 second. Give me a minute. Next. Why data driven testing? 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 Why data next advantages of data driven testing. 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 Next. Advantages of data driven testing. Next. What is difference between property file and Excel sheet? Differences between property files and Excel sheet. Difference between property file 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 and Excel sheet. Next, Java question. Explain abstraction. 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 Explain difference between abstraction and encapsulation. Explain difference between abstraction and encapsulation. Explain difference between abstraction and encapsulation. Next, manual question. Explain. Explain test case design techniques. 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 Explain test case design technique. Okay. Thank you everyone. Bye bye. Let's catch up tomorrow and let's continue.